Okay. So remember to put your LinkedIn URL and the way we can connect with you in the chat. Jamie, would you ask your question again? And then I'm going to share my screen and show you how we can deal with that issue.
Certainly. I was in another group situation, and this idea of endorsing each other on LinkedIn came up and surfaced. And it sounds like the right thing to do for each other to help each other out. And one woman surfaced a scenario, and she said, well, I have certain skills that I want to always be at the top of the heap for me personally. And her concern was is that other people, while with good intention, are endorsing her for skills. She wanted to ensure that they were the skills that she wants to be endorsed for it, so they can remain at the top of her skill section in LinkedIn. So she was saying, please ask before you start endorsing people for certain things.
And absolutely, I think that's a good idea. It's also one of the reasons that I'm suggesting that in that private little group, you can tell people what you want to be endorsed for. So you're making it clear what you want.
Mhm.
As I mentioned, LinkedIn allows you to put 50 skills in that skills section. And that skills section, those skills are becoming more and more important in terms of the way LinkedIn tries to find you. Unless you have at least one endorsement for that skill, you will not come up in the search for that skill. So it's really important. Well, let me share my screen for a moment, because you're right, Jamie, the idea that when somebody endorses you, it may change the location of those skills, the order of those skills. That's important for a couple of reasons. One of which is, may I look at your profile, Jamie?
Yes, of course. Do you want me to bring it up or do you want to bring it up?
I'm going to bring it up so that I can share.
Okay. Still working on some things, by the way.
As far as I'm concerned, this is all a work in progress. Okay. Not an issue, but I want to go down here to the skills section. Okay. So Jamie has 47 skills. You'll notice that LinkedIn again has changed some things. It used to be that when I went to your profile, unless I clicked show all, I would see 3 skills. Now it's only 2. The rest of them have to be in the show all, which is why it's really important that those that are there at the top of your list, and we're going to say the top 5, are the ones you most want to be found for.
And I moved mine, and now I don't know why it says it like this.
Okay. So, couple of reasons. One of which is, and I don't know whether or not you did it for all of them. You notice that one of the things that Jamie did is she said where she had that skill, where she was using it. I don't know whether you did that for other skills as well or not.
Yes, hearing as much as I could. I mean, I had a lot of skills, so.
I understand. So those of you who've known me a while know that when this first came out, I wasn't a big fan of saying where you had the skill. Because I think what happens when you do that is that you'll notice it adds it back up in the job as well. When you do that, it clutters that look of the resume. It clutters the look of the profile. But I've changed my mind. And I'm now suggesting actually that you do that. And the reason for that, again, LinkedIn changes the algorithm, is that what it will do is, for example, if Jamie says that she has brand management and she had it here, okay, that's almost 2 years, year and a half. She had it here, maybe she had it here. LinkedIn's back door adds all of those dates up. So if I'm looking for somebody as part of my search who's got 7 years worth of marketing experience, and Jamie has listed it in jobs over a 7-year time frame, Jamie will come up in that search higher. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, but I don't understand how retail sales came up to the top.
So that's a different story. So I'm going to show you that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it's just, I was really just talking about where these were.
Okay.
But even in here, in these skills, make sure that when you are adding those skills to that job, you add them in the order in which you would like them to be seen on the profile. I can't show you how to rearrange skills on yours, but I can show you on mine. So you go into Me, View Profile.
I'm wondering if it's because I have a search for the under the company Tiffany, for notifications about job alerts.
That shouldn't do it.
No, right?
All right. So if I go in, where's my skills? There we go. So if I'm going to go into skills, the demonstrate skills is what you want to do to say, here's where I put that into effect. What I also want to do though is I want to go in and I want to edit those skills. And you're right. LinkedIn's default is the skills that have the greatest number of endorsements are those that are going to be at the top. You can, however, rearrange them. So I went into edit skills and I'm going to go to these three dots. By the way, make sure all of you that your endorsement settings are all on. You want people to be able to endorse you. You want to be able to tell people that you are open to endorsements. But what I really wanted to show you is the reorder. And LinkedIn was doing some updating yesterday and it didn't allow me to do this, but let's see whether it will. You put your cursor over here. Yep, there it goes. And move things around. Let's see whether it changes. It did. Okay. Now, I want to go back in because I have those top badges, I want to move them around again. And I want interviewing, I want resume writing. Very strange the way this is done. Yeah, it's not letting me do that. Yeah, it's stuck for some reason, and I have to figure out how to change that. But I want my resume writing and my interviewing to be at the top because I have those top badges and I want that to show up. Now, because of the glitches in LinkedIn right now, it may be that you're going to have to go back in and change it several times. It may be that you're going to have to wait until tomorrow to make that change again. Because it only let me do it once today. I'll go back and change it again later. But what that does is it then shows you get to put it in charge in terms of the order that you want it. Yeah. You'll notice that I have 36 endorsements here, but it's not showing how many endorsements I have here. LinkedIn automatically, their default is the number of endorsements that you have is the order that it goes in unless you change it. Yeah, sorry, not working today. But that's the way you would do it, Jamie. So even though it will change when people endorse you, what's important is that you then rearrange them as you choose to do. So I'm going to go back to Jamie for a moment. I mentioned that I can only endorse someone if we are first level connections. So Jamie, since we are,
Yay.
yay. Okay. I'm going to go to your skills section.
Oh, I changed it. See, I put it back.
It's okay. I want you to tell me which ones you would like me to endorse you for it. And endorsing is easy, which is one of the problems, sorry, LinkedIn, that I have with endorsements is because I don't really have to know. I just have to click.
Mm-hmm. So just for giggles and you know what, if you endorse me for luxury marketing, let's see if it changes anything.
Luxury brand marketing.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back to the full profile and see. It shouldn't because it's just the top right that are going to show up here.
Yeah. But thank you.
You're welcome. But I'm willing to endorse any of you. You just have to tell me what for. Okay. And by the way, I would appreciate endorsements too.
May I ask another question about LinkedIn and some of the oddities that I'm finding that maybe you have answers to or can help me out? I often check to see my views and what searches I'm coming up in. And my views have been, the number has changed. And I'm wondering why that is. Like any given moment, it'll be like 200 and something people viewed, and then it'll go down to like 199. And I'm like, why does that happen?
It's a rolling 90 days.
But why would it diminish?
Because
oh, I see what you mean. Never mind. Got it.
Now, the other thing is that the views are important and they aren't. I have a free account. Okay. I've never paid for LinkedIn. As they keep changing what is available free and what's not, I may change my mind, but at the moment, I have no plans to.
Mm-hmm.
With a free account, I will see the number of people who have looked. But I'm only going to see 5 people. Whoever,
That's me.
Sorry,
I'm changing it.
Thanks. There you go. I'm only going to see 5 people who've looked. The rest of them are going to be people in such and such an industry. And then LinkedIn is going to say, would you like to see more people do our free, right? I don't necessarily want to do that. The only reason, or there are several reasons that you might want to look to see who's looking at your profile. One of which is to see if somebody that you have connected with is looking, if somebody that you know is the recruiter for a position that you've applied for, okay, you've got their name, see whether or not they specifically are looking. If you are planning to reach back out to people and say, hey, I saw you looked at my profile, how can I help? Would you like to connect? But most people don't do that. Whether you're looking at it from the standpoint of, gee, did that company reach out to me? Are they looking at my profile? Gee, that's nice to know. You can find that even without knowing the name. If you keep looking down, and unless they're going in anonymously, okay, I'm going to see that it says a research fellow in such and such a department, community development, okay, someone at the company, which will at least tell me whether or not this is a person from the company I'm looking at. Up to you.
I mean, I used it recently from a networking perspective because I saw someone was looking at my profile and I said, oh, maybe they were looking at it for employment. But even so, I reached out to that person to have a networking conversation. And
that's a great way to do it.
Yeah.
But not everybody is willing to accept it just because they looked at your profile.
True.
Okay. So up to you whether or not you want to use it. But yes, it is a useful technique. Okay. So what our topic for today is actually the whole idea of dealing with some of those job search issues, the stress, the concern, the restart, refresh, redo. So that was a great way of getting us into it in terms of how do we make use of that tool. What other questions do you all have right now? How can we help?
Hi, Linda. This is Tara.
Yes, ma'am.
My struggle for a long time has been, I don't know if it's self-confidence or being overwhelmed, but everyone tells me, go and look for positions that might interest you. This is when you don't know what positions might interest, I don't know what I'm looking for. I
Okay.
feel like I need to do like a reverse skills match. I've done the personality tests. I've done some keywords. But when you're missing some skills that maybe, you have a lot of it, but some really relevant skills. And so I'm trying to figure out what to do with what I have. I have a gray area. And this is where I'm getting hung up is I don't know what I'm looking for.
You're not alone. So here's my first thing is that don't feel like there has to be 100% match between you and the job. You're looking for at least a 70% match in terms of transferable skills. And Marcy, I'm hoping this will help you too, in the sense that we all have that almost imposter syndrome. Am I good enough? Should I really hit that button and go ahead and apply? And my response is, don't screen yourself out. Enough people are going to do that for us. Open yourself up to those opportunities. The only thing you have to lose is the time that it takes to actually put that application together.
Okay. And then I am eliminating myself. I'm go ahead, and the imposter syndrome there, I'm not good enough. And how can I prove that I'm good enough? How can I prove that I can do this? Part of me, I'm a split personality here. I know I can walk in the room and pretty much do anything.
Yep.
Okay. Especially what I've been through the last few years, overcoming any challenges. But, it's just a matter of, all right, well, I'll prove it, because I've been out of the office for 3 years. So, and the whole world has changed in the last few years. So that's where I'm torn up. And I do need to get over the idea of eliminating myself. I need to let everyone else eliminate me.
Or
That's
how about
my
we
daily.
have them screen you in, not screen you out,
Right. Yeah.
right? We do enough screening ourselves out to begin with. Yes, Jamie.
Okay.
I was going to say for Tara, I'm actually attending, just for my own interest, a seminar from LHH about return to work when you have a gap. They have a program just for people who maybe were doing caretaking for a family member or a child care, or just had a reemergence back into the workforce. If you've had a period of time when you were not in it. And I find this very interesting. I don't think I'm going to apply. However, I did have a gap year like that when I was first in job transition, where I had a lot of family concerns and issues where I couldn't work full time if I wanted to. I did get some consulting gigs and whatever, but I was not working full time. And this might be of interest to anyone on this call, because I think sounds like a really good program. And I just want to hear and learn more about it. And they're having 2 seminars. One is today, and I think one is in a couple weeks or next month. So just as an FYI.
That would be great. Would you mind sharing that information?
I got to find it, and I don't mind sharing it all. I just have to find it.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, there are a lot of programs out there. In fact, I'm putting one together myself too. But I do a lot of work with people who are coming back to work. One of the things that we do is we have with that gap, we have a tendency to worry that people aren't going to value what we did before. And part of that is up to us to be able to demonstrate that we do have those skills, that we've done a little bit of training to keep ourselves updated. Okay. Even if it's just a 20-minute class, I don't care. Something that we can add to the resume to say that I'm really interested in redoing and getting back. And that helps. The whole idea, whether it's with a gap of a month or 3 years or more is to focus in on what you can do for the new company. We all have those transferable skills. The idea is to be able to ferret them out in ourselves and ferret out what the company is really looking for, and then highlight those. We have a tendency to focus in on the gap, what's missing, what we haven't done, as opposed to what we can do. It's that change of mindset that really makes a difference in terms of whether or not you're willing to hit that button and submit that application. So it does work. Now, one of the things that I did put in chat was an organization called irelaunch.com. For those who've had a gap, you're out for caregiving or something else, as an example. There are a number of companies, and a growing number actually, that are now putting together what I like to call an internship for grown-ups, specifically designed for people who have been out of work for a period of time. Depending upon the company putting the program together, it's normally 6 months to 2 years, depending upon what their own criteria are. Many of them are saying, we want this gap to be by your choice, as opposed to, I didn't do it, I wasn't working because of a layoff, and it just has taken me a while to get back. So there are ways around that. I will be happy to share with you some ideas about how to do that, but it's a great program. And iRelaunch is an organization that is working with companies to put some of those internships for grown-ups, those returnships, in place. What's nice about them is that for the most part, they run anywhere from normally 6 months to a full year. They are paid. It's a combination of work experience, and in the best ones, there's also mentoring and some training. There is no guarantee of a full-time job afterwards, but the goal of all of these companies is that they want to be able to offer full-time employment to 90% of the people who've gone through these programs. I will be honest, not all of them are great, but it's a good way of doing it. And in the last year and a half, I've had 3 people that I've worked with who have taken these kinds of returnship programs. One actually through a company they found on iRelaunch, but 2 found those programs on their own for companies that weren't connected with iRelaunch. So there are a number of companies that are offering them. They are calling them all kinds of different things, but they're great opportunities. Yes, Jamie.
A question. So I'm really interested in doing something different, like an internship. And I keep saying I would love an internship in blank. But, people, even when I go for a lower paying role that may include something like that, they're like, oh, no, she's overqualified. Or, like this, my question is, does it have to be due to a gap in employment? Like, would they be interested in doing an internship, an adult internship for someone who hasn't had, quote, a gap? So for example, I would love to be involved in like museum or event production articulation. For an example, when I go up to the Roosevelt compound in upstate New York, and I walk through these museum-like settings and informational situations, and I'm like, oh my God, I would love to work on this and put something like this together and, work on the copy and do the sourcing and physically work with the people to create this, customer engagement experience. And I did speak to someone once about a position like that. And they're like, oh, you need to have this background. Oh, it'll take years to get museum, whatever the poo-poo would be. So would these companies through iRelaunch look at adults that haven't had a gap but want to do something different?
There are other ways of doing it. iRelaunch will probably not.
Okay.
Because iRelaunch is specifically designed, the term is relaunch.
Re-entry into the workforce.
Correct. So that's what they're designed for. However, it doesn't have to be those kinds of programs. So I mentioned one person that I've done this with 3 people so far. Okay. 2 of them really did have those gaps. One of them, the gap was because she was home caring for kids. She had special needs kids, but she was out of work for 16 years. You shouldn't say
Wow.
out of, she chose not to be working for 16 years.
Mhm.
She actually took a job through the iRelaunch program. The other two found their jobs not through iRelaunch, but same kinds of programs. One of whom did not really have a job gap. She was working kind of part-time employment, but not in the field she wanted to be in. And she took a program through Northrop Grumman, I think. And she had been an engineer kind of thing before kids, after kids, and her kids were now all in college or beyond. She was doing some work here and there, teaching at a community college.
Mhm.
But she was making that career change to go back into what she had been.
Mhm.
And she is now doing wonderfully. Had several opportunities to grow there.
But
The one that I wanted to talk about for a minute is went into an entirely different kind of a field.
Mhm.
Okay, which is what you're talking about, Jamie.
Yeah, because as you know, at this point in my life, I've worked in fashion, luxury, and that's not who I am anymore. And I love education, but I don't want to be a teacher. I love history, but I want to use my creative sensibilities and my passion. And people keep challenging me, saying, what do you want to do? What do you love? Do something you love. And I'm thinking, okay, what is it that I really love? And I think I could really get into that, but I don't have, my experience and background is not necessarily in that space. So willing to roll up my sleeves and do an internship, but I don't even know where to begin to find something like that.
So part of it is that unfortunately companies don't care necessarily about everything you've ever done. They only care about what you can do for them.
Exactly.
And they're not interested necessarily in being able to pick through a resume and say, gee, this looks like fun, hire me.
Right.
Okay. The whole idea, especially when you're trying to make that kind of a career change, or when you're coming back from a gap, is that what we need to do is we need to find ways of saying, here is something that is transferable to this kind of a role.
Mm-hmm.
And taking a class or two to show you're serious about the change is not a bad thing. And a class doesn't have to be an expensive program. It doesn't have to be a long class. So I mentioned LinkedIn and their paid memberships. One of the advantages of a paid membership with LinkedIn is that you get the opportunity to do some LinkedIn learning classes.
Good one.
Okay. You can also do it in a number of other ways without having to pay for the membership. Sorry, LinkedIn. But you can take advantage of a free membership and then pile in as many of those classes as you can in those first 29 days before you cancel your membership. You can also check with your local public library.
That's good to know.
Many public libraries actually provide LinkedIn learning to their patrons, people who are actually paying tax to that library district. Not all of them do. The difference is you still set up your own LinkedIn learning account on their system, but depending upon the way they've set it up, it may or may not be an easy transfer from finishing that course and having it show up on your profile. You may have to go through some extra steps, but it can be done.
Right.
Okay. And if you can do it through your library, there is no fee. Check with your reference librarian to see whether or not that's an option.
Thank you.
Okay. There are also other options in terms of some additional free training, depending upon what it is you're looking for. Check out some of the free training through Coursera. Coursera. And I think it's .com, but I'm not certain. What I like about Coursera is that Coursera is obviously a company that wants to make money, but their programs are, for the most part, put together and offered by either universities or major companies. Not all of them are free, but many of them are. And you should be able to get something that will work for you. Now, depending upon the course, even if it's one you have to pay for, you may be able to complete it within a month, in which case it's going to cost you $49. Okay. And it's not per course, it's per month. They also have a year-long plan, which isn't going to get you everything. Okay. Some of their certifications are going to be extra, like a Google certification. But I think that's still $400 a year. So there are options out there. And if there are specific things that you're interested in, we can see whether we can find you some resources. Okay. But we all have transferable skills for something. We just have to be able to find the right wording to use it. And then when you're talking about applying for a job, either in another area or at a lower level, we need to recognize that sometimes the full experience that we have and talking about that works against us rather than for us. So if it's a lower level, we do what's called a resume light. Okay. You downplay a little bit of what you've done. If you're trying to make that transition, we focus in on what's transferable. And when you start talking to people about these, whether it's in your cover letter, whether it's in your interview questions when you get there, you focus on how not having experience in that realm, in that specific area, is an advantage, not a disadvantage.
Sounds crafty, but cool.
But it works.
Yeah, of course.
It works every time. But it's that whole idea of, I bring skill X, Y, and Z, which is what you need. And what I do is that I bring you that expertise. And then because I've got that, I know how to ask the right questions to see how it fits here. You're going to teach me your industry. I'm going to bring you this skill set. And together we'll make it work. So you turn it into an advantage because you're coming in fresh with expertise in a new area. And you're going to make it work. And they're going to teach you without you having to unlearn some of the things that are important to them.
Yeah, I think that's a way I'm thinking now, instead of just trying to get a job in what I've always done and maybe not being not particularly wanted. I don't know. I'm kind of at a crossroad in thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I do have something at 1:00, but this was very enjoyable, and I really liked it, and I hope to do more of it with you all.
Absolutely. So before you go, because I'm noticing that there more than half of us have left. 2 hours is a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the reasons that it's been longer and the way that I've done it in the past is because we go around the room and introduce ourselves. Would it be more useful to shorten the time frame and just do the introductions in the chat and maybe have 1 or 2 people a week introduce themselves so that we can focus in on topic?
Yeah, I think maybe.
What do you think, Jennifer?
Right.
Jennifer, you're muted. Nope. Try again.
Let me fix.
We got it.
Wow. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Yeah. Can you all hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I've done too many Zoom meetings to have made that mistake, but I agree. I think that would be a great idea, Linda, to cut down on the time if we did chat introductions as opposed to introducing ourselves at the front end of the call.
That works for me. So if that's the case, then I'm going to see whether I can't transition to that kind of a format. And then we'll see how we can go from there.
Okay.
Okay. In the meantime, those chats, I'm going to post it so that it's in that group. Reach out anytime you all have questions. And if you have ideas for topics for these sessions, please let me know. Okay. Because I really want to make them work for you.
Sounds
Great.
good. Thank you so much. Are we wrapping up or are we just having
I'm-
a conversation?
I'm happy to stay longer. Good luck with-
I mean, I'm just sitting here because it's informative in everyone's scenario. So that's up to everyone else. So
Good. Okay,
I will go with the flow.
that works for me. I'm sorry you're not feeling well, Jennifer.
Oh, is
Okay.
that Jennifer T who said she's not feeling well?
Tamburino. Okay, sorry about that. Who said that she didn't want to be on camera because she was feeling a little under the weather. Okay, so what are the
Yeah.
questions, since we're just a
Sure.
small, tell me what kinds of questions I can answer for you.
Sorry, Linda, I keep interrupting you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wonder if you have any general advice for people like me, and I think Jamie earlier was explaining, we get to second round of the interviews and then we don't get the call back. And actually, I've kind of called myself the job killer, jokingly, just a bit of morbid humor, because every time I've applied for a position this year, I'm not even kidding. Either the company has decided, oh, we thought we were going to hire, but we're not actually ready to hire. So sorry. The position has changed entirely to where I am no longer qualified. Or I am a really great candidate. I go through the interview process, and then by the end of it, they've decided that their needs have changed. And it is almost something I can count on at this point. And I've used every resource in terms of networking. Actually, the last 2 jobs I made it to the second round of, I had a friend or a contact working in that company who referred me and could kind of speak well to my qualifications to the hiring manager. So I feel like I followed every rule of how to get a job, and it still didn't happen.
Yeah, unfortunately that happens. So I don't have a magic bullet. I wish I did. To some extent, I think cracked crystal ball. You're going to see, unfortunately, more of the companies going through the process. They start interviewing people and then decide that that's not really what they wanted, or their internal processes change. And either they've been told that they need to hire an internal because they're about to go through a layoff and they need to maintain that or want to, or they started interviewing and said, gee, this skill is really good. And now I've decided that I really don't want this, I want that. So they're changing what the job is halfway through the process. I wish I could tell you that's going away. I can't. Unfortunately, I think that's going to increase, at least over the next year. I know how terribly frustrating that is.
Mhm.
Good news, though, aspect of it is that I've also seen several times that as you're going through this interview process, when the company says we need to revamp and revise what they're doing, they have come back to the candidate and saying, you've told us some things that we didn't think we needed, and guess what we do? And so they've revised the job description to make it fit for them. So I've actually seen that happen twice to people over the last year and a half. Now, that's not a whole lot, I admit, but I don't hear about everything. But for the people that I've worked with, that's not a bad number. Okay. So I can't give you any magic bullet as to how to make it work for you, or to say that the job is going to still be there and you're going to go through the process. But I'd say, instead of beating yourself up, I'd say pat yourself on the back that you're making it to second round.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you. That's really great advice.
And I know that's tough, but the idea is just to keep going. Remember, you're hiring them as much as they're hiring you, and you want to find the right fit for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Who else can I help? Can we help? Debbie, do I feel that there is a strong ageism? Yes, I do. I wish I could tell you that there wasn't an ageism issue out there, Debbie, but unfortunately there is. And I will tell you that I'm older than all of you on the call. There are several ways you can get around that whole issue of ageism when you can. One of which is to limit your resume experience and to limit the experience on your LinkedIn profile to 10 to 15 years. If the experience that you had prior to that is really important for the job you're looking at, there are ways that we can add it back in without aging you. But that whole idea of adding all that extra experience is an automatic aging issue. Especially because so many of our jobs are saying we don't want that much experience out there. Hi, Maggie. So there are ways around it. Do you have a specific example? Debbie, you mentioned in your application or cover letters, there is a lot of ghosting out there where people don't get any reply at all. Unfortunately, that too is not unusual. And there isn't a whole lot you can do about that. The thing that you can do, it's not necessarily that you are older and that's what's causing them not to reply. There could be other factors, including the fact that there are just a lot of people applying for the same jobs. And when that's the case, the more you can do to demonstrate in your resume and in your cover letter how you fit the new job, what makes you different, what skills you bring to this role, why you want to work for this company, you're more likely to get that call. Okay. Debbie, in terms of your materials as well, make sure that they are easy to read, that they focus in on the skills and the experience and the accomplishments for that job, and they don't have a lot of fluff. So you were with the former company for 33 years. I understand. What I would do is rather than listing all 33 years, I would find did you have the same title for all 33 years? Okay. If there was a job title change, you can use that as your break. And say that you were with that company for whatever time frame, and then the additional time you can list as additional related experience with no dates, and just list the titles of additional jobs that you held for the company during that time frame that might be useful for the new job. Only if they're useful for the new job. Doesn't have to be everything, but there are ways of doing it. Maggie, this may be the last Lunch and Learn where we do a formal everybody introduce themselves, but you just joined us. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, and I didn't have much time. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay. I just wanted to come in and meet and greet and say hello for a brief minute. Hi, Linda. Glad to see you getting it all up and running. Good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So my name is Maggie Elrick, and we would say customer service is my main focus, but did a lot in insurance, and now that's all sales. And my boss retired, so I've been looking at all kinds of different jobs, and in different ways. Last week I didn't come because I had several interviews, so I thought you should know that, Linda, after all your patience waiting us all out. Ironically, it was what I always wished for. I knew I do best at interviews person to person. And that's how I've gotten all my jobs in the past. And it just so happened this was networking through a friend. And another part of it was insurance. And you know, I've been trying to get away from insurance. So it's kind of an irony, and that's why I thought I'd share the story that he's a young guy. He's about the age of my son, but he's really, really good man. And, you know, I worked in a small office, just me and my boss, big successful customer service, high rankings in the state. And this young guy just happened to be looking for someone my friend knew as her agent. And I had 5 different interviews with him, and 2 were in person and 3 were on the phone. So, and we both just really hit it off. And that's what I was looking for. I was looking for, again, it's almost deja vu to my old job.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was first thing I talked about was that in the office I worked in, customers matter, and that we would take time. And he said that's what mattered to him. And so, like, boy, there it is, And we just said every time we met that we really wanted to work together. So it was all very good, very positive. The best part of it was it built me up. I got to finally walk in as a professional to an office, talk to the boss, and, present myself. And I needed that. I really needed that. So you needed to hear that too, Linda, because you brought me this far.
Good.
I don't think I really could just, sell myself in the best way, and say what I do for people, what I want to do for people, all the things that you said, it just comes out naturally for me because it was my old job situation. And he really liked me and I really liked him. And we just said, we really want to work together. So then he called his boss, because this is an insurance agent, and they have to work under other people who
Right.
are under corporate office. And his boss had 2 people in mind that he wanted him to interview. And the minute I heard that, and then he sounds so regretful. And he said, and the update on their computer system is coming soon. Now I was going to have to recertify. So that's a hunk of training, which I was willing to do. Learn a whole nother computer system for another company.
Yep.
And there was one other thing, but the point is, I knew they were going to turn around and I'd have to learn a new system still. So I was willing to do all that. I've done it before. Good fit. But the minute I heard him say his boss had 2 people, you just knew that there was a lot of changes in the wind for that company. But I'd been through that with my boss. It's just, it wasn't a pressure for sales. And what did I told you? Everybody I interviewed with over the last 4 years, it's all sales. And sure enough, this must have been the one rare, unique office in the whole country that he wasn't pushing sales. And that's why we were doing so well. He wanted me just to really take care of his people.
Mm-hmm.
And he just said, I don't have the heart to shut the door. He said, because I really wanted to work with you. So it was all very positive. The best part of it was it made me go somewhere and seriously consider what it would be like to work there.
Yes.
And I needed that even more than anything, because the main thing I've talked about, I haven't been working for 4 years. I call it my sabbatical as I try to find something different.
Right.
Physically, I've changed some. There's things that have altered. And so to sit in an office and think, how would I do this every day? How could I coordinate? And sitting long times is something that I can't do. But he was so good about all of it that it was real positive. Wanted you to know that, Linda. But
I'm glad, Maggie.
Don't think it's going to work out.
But it's a step in the right direction.
A big step. And so that's why I wanted to come and tell you and say hello. Now, I understand a little message here says you are now recording.
Yes.
Are you going to do that every week?
Yes.
Okay. What got you to decide that?
Because there were people who said that who've been asking me to do it for years and I never have.
Mm-hmm.
And some people who said that they wanted to join and couldn't. So what I'm telling people is if they're not comfortable with the recording, I will turn it off. Or if they're not comfortable, they're comfortable with the recording but not being seen, they can turn their pictures off or take their names down.
Okay. And then how have you set it up? You did amazingly well. And I just read your forgiveness note before I came in. And there's nothing to forgive as far as I'm concerned, but I know the feeling of regrets and wanting to, offer forgiveness. So anyway, good for you. I told you I have a family member that works with an awful lot of people, and helps them get jobs. And she had reached a point that she's having to do just what you're doing, rethink, reevaluate because of all the time given on her
Yep.
part and on your part. So this leads to my one question, and that is, if we needed to get a hold of you or want to talk to you about a job, just one-on-one, what is your best recommendation now?
About getting a hold of me?
And if I want to talk to you, say 5-10 minutes about a job
Okay,
interview.
so my email address is the same one that used to send out the link. So it's putting it in the chat. It's
Okay.
lindabrubaker@gmail.com.
Linda Brubaker, coach.
Coach@gmail.com.
Now you've got coach.
Yep.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so that's one way to do it. When you're ready, I can also send you a calendar link and we can figure something out. Okay, you can message me on LinkedIn. You can do this. We'll make something happen.
Okay, so you're not messing at the moment with this whole making appointments with people yet.
I am. That's
Oh,
what I
you
said. I'll send you a calendar link.
Okay, so email first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it.
Okay, just tell me what kinds of things you're looking for, and then I will send you a calendar link, Maggie.
Okay, it mainly would be like last week if I really had a good interview and I had some questions, then I want to kind of run it by you.
Yeah.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I was going to say, yeah, those kinds of things. I'm going to set something up just as a quick, you just need a quick chat. If you're coaching, that's something different. Okay.
Yeah, that would be, you've given me a whole year along with everyone else. That actually walking that interview afterwards, I thought, golly, I did it just right. Linda was, you give me kudos, because
Absolutely.
I knew what to say, obviously, because it was from my old job. Well, here's what I can do for you, no problem, because I knew, and it went over well. So that stuff, I don't think I'm going to need half as much as just a quick run by, hey, I found this job and I kind of have a question.
Yeah.
Now, do you want the word important there or anything?
Sure. That's fine.
Okay. Because
Okay.
that's about the only time I'd reach out, I think.
Yep, that's not a problem.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for putting this together because
You're very welcome.
I know your value.
Thank you.
And I hope you feel that deeply. Finally coming to this point. I can see it in your smile. I really can. Are you feeling up and doing?
I am. I'm excited.
Good. Okay. And with that, I'm going to bow out for today. But
You're
I
very welcome.
wanted to come and encourage and say hi.
Thank you, and good luck, Maggie.
Thank you. Take care. Go to leave.
There she goes. Okay. So how else can I help, ladies?
Well, I guess we can talk about, how to make this less overwhelming.
The whole process?
Yeah.
How many hours do you have?
I have all day.
So what do you find specifically overwhelming, Tara?
I am to the point, I am a structure person. I need, structure throughout my day. Normally I do, I have my list, my routine and so forth. Over time, I've lost that. I find that I can no longer focus. I get into sitting down and about to figure out what I need to do to move forward. And then I look up plans on what walls I can paint or what I can do to re-landscape my garden. And I can't focus anymore. It seems to me like it's like an avoidance behavior. So I guess in my case, it's avoidance and probably sabotage, and it's not intentional.
No.
I don't trying to figure out every day how to get past it.
It's a tough one. Does anybody else have any suggestions for Tara before is it Tara or Tara?
Tara.
Thank you. Anybody else have any suggestions for Tara before I jump in?
Yeah, I wonder, I think it's always great to start small. And that's something that's helped me. I tend to overthink a lot as well, and sometimes get lost in the middle of other things that grab my attention. And so even if you can just write out 2 or 3 things you'd like to do that day, if you can check those off, then you can kind of let the rest go and not be, up at night thinking about all the things you could have done and that you didn't.
Good idea.
Thank you.
That small bits always helps. One of the things that, because I'm right there with you, Tara. There are days when I'm exactly doing that. I'm spread all over the place. So that idea of writing down the one thing and setting the intention, even setting an alarm on my phone saying, this is what I'm going to do it from this time to this time, seems to help me focus for that. Some days I put together a to-done list instead of a to-do list. So that at the end of the day, especially on days when I haven't done what I thought I wanted to do, I write down everything I did so that I can go back and mentally check it off. It's another way of telling myself that I'm not just wasting time. There is some purpose, even if it's not the purpose that I intended it to be. But if you're trying to build some structure in, you don't have to be in job search 8 hours a day, every day. You'll drive yourself nuts. But put together an hour or 2 a day and say, I'm going to do this for that time frame. And if it doesn't take all that time, that's fine. But for example, during that time, you could be looking at jobs, what jobs were posted in the last week, 24 hours. And then the next day, applying for one of those, starting to put your materials together, or reading through stuff on LinkedIn, or connecting with people, doing one of these workshops, doing a workshop on LinkedIn. The commitment to doing something, even if it's just one thing, start with 3 days a week and then slowly build up. It will help.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm getting to, Thursday, Friday, and I look back, I'm like, how is it Friday? What did I do all week? And, I get stuck in my head for so long. I'm like, I have no idea what I just did all week. And to me, that doesn't feel productive. So
That's
yeah.
why I said the to-done list.
Yeah. I'm going to be adding that for sure. And I do, it's a great idea to kind of break them down into smaller chunks. I've been sitting here staring at my computer all day from the time I get up, and I have a cutoff point between 3 and 5, depending on what kind of day I had. But yeah, it's just the whole structure and getting out of my head and actually doing something. This has been going on a while. I'm sure people are sick of hearing my, well, this girl can't, get her act together. She doesn't know what she wants or anything. But I've had to process a lot over the last few years. Without going into specifics, I've had every major life stressor since 2020. So, I had to get rid of all of that garbage in the same time. And, I need to, I think what I'm also trying to add in is what can I do to make myself feel better every day as far as like self-care? Because then it makes you feel unworthy, or, you feel like you're just not good enough. You have to do something to make yourself feel better, whether it's talk with a friend or, some sort of self-care. And I'm trying to work that in too.
Self-care is a great idea.
Yeah. In my environment, I have my sister and I were taking care of my mom who was 88. She has dementia. And it's a struggle because, I need to get back to work because I need to supplement everything that's going on around here. I have, the weight of the world falling on my responsibility here. And my sister has her share as well. So, those external emotional stressors get in the way.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of fuzz the signals. So, yeah, this is what I'm trying to work through. And, I don't want anyone to think that, I come in here every week and just don't have my act together. I kind of
Nobody thinks that. We're all doing it too.
Okay. Yeah. So, and it's been really helpful to have your group. We're all kind of in a similar situation. Just know that that we're all supported and we can kind of talk this out. There are days where, I get to 5, 6 o'clock and I haven't spoken to anyone. I haven't had a conversation that's unhealthy. So it's good to kind of vent all this out and get feedback from, everyone that's in here. But I appreciate all the suggestions. I'm gonna write down my list while I'm having my sandwich.
Okay, good. So let me give you another couple of real quick, easy things that will give you that sense of accomplishment too. So you can, for example, sorry, if we're talking job search or anything else, those networking, those calls, those connections also help in terms of job search, as well as that sense of feeling good about you and having those connections too. So remember, we talked at the beginning about endorsing each other, connecting with each other. So connect with each other. Endorse one person a day. Find something to do. And that may mean that you need to set up a LinkedIn chat or a 15-minute call to find out more about them so that you know what things they really want to be endorsed for. And they get that connection to you as well. One person a day, reaching out to one person a day, even if you can't connect that day, will still give you that sense of accomplishment and will help you move forward. And it will help not just you, but help that other person as well. That's an easy one.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Okay.
Okay. And that's something you can do for all of us and that everybody here can do. I'm trying to think of quick little easy sound bites or sound bits to break things out. If you're overwhelmed in terms of job search itself, instead of looking at all the jobs that are out there, limit it to the last 24 hours. Means you have to go back in more often, or limit it to a week instead of everything that's out there. And you can limit job search in terms of when the jobs were posted. Limit the number of sites that you're looking for those jobs. Okay, so I only recommend 2 sites. 3 maybe if you're looking for a nonprofit kind of a role. But unless there's a specialized job site in your area of expertise, then you really only need LinkedIn and maybe Indeed, and that's it. If there are specific companies that you want to work for, you need their sites too. But again, you don't need to check them all the time. Set up a job alert and it'll come to you. But again, those are short, little activities. Defined time limit and defined activity as opposed to going off in all directions. Oops. Sorry. Trying to think of other things. Commit to doing, here's another one job search activity a week that is not specifically looking for a job, but it could be like coming here. It could be attending another LinkedIn event. Many of them are very short. It could be taking one of those free LinkedIn classes or a free class someplace else that's like a 20-minute deal. Even if you don't go through all of it, the idea of doing something in terms of your own self-growth as well as your own commitment to being with people and learning new things, at least once a month is not a bad thing. And if you put it on your calendar, sometimes that works. So Maggie asked me a little while ago why I was recording these. I record them, I've started recording them because I know that we can't all be there all the time. And that there's still some information or some things that you want to go back to. If we go to that hour format, when we go to that hour format, it'll be easier to look at, and I may try and find a way of just doing snippets. Here's this important piece. I haven't figured that out yet. What you just heard come through on my phone was an alert because I sign up for a lot of LinkedIn events, whether I attend them or not. Signing up for the event, if it is with some sort of video as opposed to just audio, means that if I've done that, I then have access to the replay if I can't attend. And sometimes I will just do that. I may or may not actually take advantage of it, but it's the reminder that there's something else out there. And if you want to learn how to find LinkedIn events, let me know. And at some point we'll do some research on that. We'll talk about that. Does that give you a couple of questions?
These are all great suggestions.
And hopefully we didn't overwhelm you.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the chat. I know there are only a couple of us left. But I've put together a Jamboard. Many of you have helped with it. A Jamboard is kind of an online brainstorming tool. Once you have the link, you can go in anytime. There's no password required as long as I send you the link. I think there are 20 pages now. So you need to go back and forth. This is just the link to one, but that gives you access to all of them. The idea would be to go in, and if you come up with a topic, something you'd like us to talk about at Lunch and Learn, let me know. I want to make sure that when we do these, they're important for you. They meet your needs. Okay. So feel free to go ahead and use that anytime and just send me the information, or send me an email and just say Lunch and Learn topic, and I'll see what I can do. Remember to go into the group, connect with one another, and ask them for endorsements for what you want. And if you don't know what you want, that's okay. We'll help you figure it out along the way. How else can we help you today? Thank you. I love, by the way, Jennifer's using the emojis. Do you all know how to do those on Zoom so that you can do the reactions?
I do not, but I will look for them.
Okay, Jennifer, you want to share how you did it?
Yes, happy to. So I'm on my phone, but there it should, at the bottom of your screen there on the Zoom app, there is something that says reactions. And if you click on it, then you have the option to raise your hand. So it'll just put the hand emoji up to say that you have a question. And then it also gives you access to a few different emojis. So when you tap on it, it'll show up in your square. And so even if you have your camera off, it's a way to interact on a meeting.
Absolutely. Perfect. Okay. You found it. Okay. You can also do it there. You can also just do it in the chat. Or you can do it in both. The idea is to have some sort of an interaction going and support one another as we go through this process. Job search is tough. Okay. And any kind of support we can provide to each other is always a good thing.
I joined your LinkedIn group, your Lunch and Learn
Excellent.
group last week. Started connecting. Anyone who's left on here that I have not connected with, feel free to reach out. And then, yeah, Linda, was there any other, I'm just kind of getting familiar with your profile and so forth. Any other resources that we have access to other than the Lunch and Learn group, or anything on your profile?
So you have access to that. You have access to one-on-one coaching.
Okay.
Lunch and Learn is free. Unfortunately, the coaching is not.
Right.
Okay. But yes, I'm trying to put together some other resources as well. I'm going to try and put together a list of resources. I mentioned WIOA, I mentioned LinkedIn Learning, see whether I can't find a way of adding some resources to that and post that in the group as well, as a way of sharing that. But you tell me what kind of resources you're looking for, and we'll see what we can find.
That's great.
And
Thank you so
other
much.
ways that I can support you. Okay, because my whole goal in this, whether I was working for ECC or now that working for myself, I'm doing this because I want to support job seekers. And you need to help me figure out how best to do that. And one of the ways of doing that is telling me what kinds of things you're looking for and what we can provide and how we can work together.
Sounds good.
Okay. So you also need to tell me, Tara, what you're seeing in my profile or not seeing in my profile that you want to see.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because I need to update my profile too now that I've gone out on my own.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, that's great. Okay. I'll take a look.
Okay. Absolutely. And by the way, look at each other's profiles and let's come up with some suggestions for each other. We can even do that as another Lunch and Learn.
That would be good. I'm
Okay.
open to all of that.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Same time next week.
Same time next week, same link, just new topic. But next week, I think we're going to try and do the 1 hour. So if we do 1 hour, at least for those of you who are here, should we do 11 to 12 Central or 12 to 1 Central? Or make it an hour and a half?
I'm good with 11, and I'd say 60 to 90 minutes would be
Okay.
definitely good.
All right.
We're gonna have people dropping off, but yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
that's my feedback.
Yep. No, that's why I'm asking.
Okay.
Jennifer,
Yeah, I
is that-
agree, with Sarah, as well. Yeah, the 11 to 12 or 12:30 sounds great.
okay. Then we're going to try that for next week instead of going all the way to 1. The same link will work, but I'm going to send out a new email that's going to have a topic. Okay, excellent. Feel free to invite other people. Once I figure some of this out, I may even advertise it on LinkedIn and see whether we can get the group to grow a little.
Sounds good. Thank you so much,
You're
Linda.
welcome. Have a
All
great afternoon, everyone.
You too. Bye, everyone.
Bye all.